Ladies and gentlemen, it finally happened. The bubble popped live on national television on The View of all places. Donald J. Trump is the president of the United States. The polls are rolling in, and the left's favorite talk show just got a reality check that they just couldn't handle. Now, you should have seen their faces. One of their own, Alyssa Farah Griffin, not even a Trump supporter, said the quiet part out loud. If the election were held today, Trump would win, and not just squeak by. He would dominate. The audience froze. The panel panicked. Why? Because new polls prove what everyday Americans already know. Republicans are crushing Democrats on the economy, immigration, and crime. Americans overwhelmingly trust the GOP to fix the nation's biggest problems. And even in California, Gavin Newsom's desperate redistricting games, they're completely falling apart. Now, this isn't just a poll. It is a brutal gut check for the Democratic Party. And The View, they just got showcased that the collapse for the whole world to see. Now, buckle up, guys, because what you're about to hear, what you're about to see, this is why the media is in full meltdown mode right now, why Democrats are scrambling trying to cover, and why President Trump's America First agenda is stronger than ever. Hit the like button, subscribe. Folks, I want to be crystal clear here. Donald J. Trump, president of the United States, that alone sets the stage for why, what just happened on The View is so earth-shattering. Because for years, that show has been a microphone. It's been a megaphone for Democrat talking points, a safe bubble where the audience just gets spoon-fed exactly what they want to hear. Trump is finished. Republicans are sinking. The left is invincible. But today, ladies and gentlemen, that bubble burst. A brutal set of polls just landed, shattering their illusions in real time right in front of their loyal audience. And for the first time in years, The View couldn't laugh it off. They couldn't spin it. They couldn't even pretend that it didn't happen. This was the moment reality walked into their studio and sat at the table. Now, here's where it gets even better. The person who detonated this particular truth bomb, it wasn't even a MAGA firebrand or a hardcore conservative. It was Alyssa Farah Griffin. This is somebody who openly criticized Trump and has zero incentive to defend him. And yet, she told the panel and the audience flat out, if the election were held today, Donald Trump would win. Not might win, not squeak by, he would win. Maybe even a bigger margin than before. Like, the second that those words left her mouth, the entire audience, the entire set froze. The panel shifted uncomfortably. The audience gasped. It was like someone cut the power in the studio. And at that point, when even Trump critics admit that he's stronger than ever, this isn't just a slip of the tongue. This is the undeniable truth forcing its way into the echo chamber. Now, here's why Alyssa's statement really kind of hit them like a thunderbolt. The numbers are devastating. On the economy, Republicans are up by 7 points. On immigration, Republicans are up by 13 points. And on crime, the issue that touches every American city, Republicans hold a staggering 22-point lead. Now, these are not cherry-pick numbers. They're the very issues voters care most about. And Democrats are losing ground across the board. Now, think about this. Their favorite narrative is that Trump is unpopular on every issue. Yet the hard data tells the exact opposite story. This is why the left doesn't want these polls in circulation. This is why the media tries to bury them. And that is why when they finally leak into the spotlight, it's kind of like exactly what they just did on The View. The reaction it's not debate. It's pure panic, because deep down, they know that the numbers do not lie. And this right here, this is where the whole charade comes crashing down. On The View, the talking point of the day is always the same. Trump is collapsing. Republicans are hated. Democrats are winning. Yeah, but when Alyssa broke the script and she dropped the truth, their fantasy world was exposed for what it really is. A carefully maintained alternative reality. These people thrive on these platitudes, not facts. They tell their audience what they're wishing was happening, not what is actually happening. You see the difference here? So it's the source. Trust me, bro. That kind of method of political analysis. But ladies and gentlemen, reality doesn't bend to feelings. It doesn't bend to Joy Behar's monologues. When actual polling numbers are placed side by side with essentially the rhetoric, the gap is a canyon. And that canyon, it grows wider and wider every single day. This is exactly why the moment on The View is so freaking powerful. It literally ripped the mask off. So, do you know what's really in the fine print of your Medicare plan? Serious question. Most people don't. They don't even read it because the font's so small. And I think they do that on purpose. This is exactly how insurance companies like it. Hidden costs, sneaky clauses, and costing retirees more and more money every single day. This is why I partner with Chapter, guys. They specialize in reviewing Medicare plans line by line for you so that you don't have to. And they make sure that you aren't paying for coverage you don't even use, or worse, losing benefits that you actually deserve. And so one of our viewers just so happened to tell me, she said, I finally understood my Medicare plan for the first time after talking to Chapter. That knowledge changed everything. So ask yourself, guys, would you rather stay stuck in the fine print or join the thousands who already call Chapter to see the truth? Now, most people, they're calling the phone number right there on the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. Phone number is 909-563-8279. So why are these polls so lopsided? I was wondering the same thing, right? Because Americans are finally waking up to the reality of who they actually can trust. Under the Biden-Harris administration, people watched inflation explode. Comment sky high groceries if you saw groceries go through the roof, like in a matter of months. The border collapse. Crime spiraled out of control. Families couldn't buy groceries without feeling the squeeze. Cities became unsafe. Ordinary Americans felt abandoned. Now, if you fast forward to today, Trump is back in office and the comparison is glaring. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll confirmed it. More Americans believe Republicans have the better plan to fix the nation's biggest problems. And so it's not just Republicans saying this. Independents, the very people who swung elections, they're breaking away from the Democrats in droves. And that is why the panic is so real on The View, because if even the center is moving to the right, their entire narrative collapses overnight. And so, but here's the trick that the left always plays. They cherry pick the one poll that tells them what they want to hear. Take Quinnipiac, for example, right? They blast out a headline, Trump approval at 38%. And then all of a sudden, every Democrat on TV is celebrating like they won the lottery or something. But if you step back and you kind of look at the full picture, RMG Research, Rasmussen, Atlas Intel, they all show Trump at 47 to 50%. That's not collapse. That's strength. That's momentum. Rallying behind Trump and it is showing up in the polls. Relying on one single outlier poll to write Trump's obituary, it's kind of like predicting Iowa in 2020 based on one rogue survey while ignoring the dozens that actually got it right. So it's absolutely delusion dressed up as analysis. And The View, they eat it up because it keeps their bubble intact. But sooner or later, that bubble bursts, just like it did live on air. Now, let's talk about Trump's resilience, shall we? Because this is where the left's narrative, it really does fall apart. After 9 months of nonstop lawfare, indictments, media smear jobs, and propaganda designed to break his spirit, Donald Trump is holding an average approval rating of around 45%. In today's hyperpolarized climate, that is a rock solid number. I mean, if you compare that to Barack Obama in his second term, despite worship from the press, his numbers dipped lower than Trump's current standing. Now, think about that. Trump is beating the media's golden boy, and I'm not even talking about Walmart Obama. I'm talking about the real Obama. Trump is beating the real Obama, the media's golden boy, even while being targeted from every direction. That's not weakness. That is the definition of a political stamina. Now, every attack thrown his way has only hardened his base and widened the cracks in the Democratic support. And that resilience terrifies the left because it proves their years of coordinated warfare haven't even broken him. If anything, it's made him stronger. And it's kind of like one of the phrases that I love, what doesn't break you, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And while President Trump is proving unstoppable in a national stage, Democrats are stumbling even in their supposed strongholds. Think about it. Look, take California, for example, where Governor Gavin Newsom tried to rush through a fast-tracked redistricting plan to tilt the balance in his favor. Well, guess what? Republicans sued, and suddenly the entire scheme is unraveling. This isn't some backwater skirmish. It's California. This is the left's crown jewel. Now, if Democrats can't rig the rules in their own backyard, then what chance do they have in actual competitive states? This is why The View meltdown matters so much because they know it's not just about the polls. It is about structural failure. Gavin Newsom's plan backfiring means more GOP voters getting real representation. It means Democrats can't just rely on the backroom maps to save them. And it means their grip on power is slipping even in the bluest of states. Now, here's another brutal reality check for the left. And this is something that the left just cannot spin away. Voter registration is moving right, and it's happening rather fast. In swing states across the map, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Republicans are gaining new registrations while Democrats are bleeding support. And this isn't speculation. This is hard data from state polls. I mean, like every month, thousands of voters are shifting red, and that changes the math going into 2026. For years, Democrats relied on these big city margins to pad their totals, but with working class families flipping and independents leaning Republican, those margins are slipping. That is why the gaps on The View are so genuine. They know the numbers are against them. They already know that the paper trail doesn't lie. And when it comes time to actually vote, those new registrations translate into ballots. And those ballots mean, well, Democrats face a storm unlike anything they've ever seen before. But of course, instead of confronting this reality, the Democrats and their media allies, they double down on their favorite weapon, psychological operations. Okay, they flood the airwaves with doom and gloom headlines about Trump collapse, and they do it all the time. You've seen it, guys. They shout that Republicans are finished, hoping repetition makes it true. Outlets like MSNBC, or like Trump likes to say, MSDNC, CNN, they all push the same script. Trump's numbers are down. Democrats are winning. And then The View parrots it, of course, packaging propaganda as entertainment for millions and millions of loyal watchers. Drop a shut down The View if you're done with The View. I want to see where you guys stand on that. But I mean, it's not even about informing the public. It's about demoralizing Trump supporters, convincing them that their fight is hopeless. But here's the twist. The more they push this fake narrative, the more obvious the disconnect becomes. Americans see the difference between their lived reality, their higher safety, stronger borders, lower prices, and the lies coming from the screen. That disconnect is why their psychology and their psychological op is just crumbling before their very eyes. Now, when you strip away the media noise and you look at what actually matters to voters, the picture's clear. Trump and the GOP, they own the top issues. Job safety, the border, these aren't abstract policy debates. They're the daily struggles of ordinary Americans. Under Biden and Harris, inflation gutted paychecks. Small towns were swamped by migrant caravans, and crime waves left cities paralyzed. Now, under Trump's return, people are already seeing a course correction, and they know who to thank. Poll after poll shows Americans trust Republicans more to manage the economy, to secure the border, and to restore law and order. But you're not going to hear that on The View. Instead, they waste time on identity politics and empty sound bites. That is why Alyssa Farah Griffin's words hit like a hammer, because they cut right through the spin and they confirm what the voters already feel in their gut. Oh, and of course, the audience reaction, those gasps, the shock, the disbelief, that is a perfect snapshot of the modern left. The View audience is America's liberal bubble in like a miniature form. They live on a steady diet of MSNBC, New York Times editorials, and these viral TikToks telling them that Trump is finished. They don't interact with the other side. They don't hear the real numbers. They don't hear any kind of counter arguments. And they certainly don't question the narrative. Oh, question the narrative? Heavens no. So when reality intrudes, when someone says out loud that Trump is winning, they act like they've been slapped in the face. And that's the real danger for Democrats. Their voters are being sheltered from the truth. When election day comes and the results don't match their fantasy, the shock will be nationwide. Mark my words. That audience panic that you saw on The View, multiply it by millions, and then you're going to see exactly what's going to happen November 2026 and how that's going to look like. So now I want to kind of like look ahead, because this is where the stakes skyrocket. The GOP isn't just winning the polling war today. They're setting the stage for a tidal wave in 2026. The registration numbers, the polling issues, the crumbling Democrat strongholds, all of it points to all of it points to Republican momentum. But here's really the cautionary trail. Donald Trump himself, he's not going to be on the ballot in 2026. That means Republicans need to channel this momentum into like down ballot races, into governors, into the House seats. You see what I'm saying here, guys? And let's not forget the Senate fights. Democrats are banking on fatigue, hoping Americans forget about the pain of the Biden-Harris years. But these polls prove people haven't forgotten anything. I remember in the comments down below if you have not forgotten the Biden days, okay? The Biden-Harris era with high inflation and unemployment going through the roof. If the GOP could hold this course, 2026 could become the Democrats' Waterloo. And that's exactly why The View looks so rattled. They see the storm coming. And unfortunately, or depending upon what side you're on, they can't stop it. So I want to kind of wrap it up here because what happened on The View wasn't just a TV moment. This was a cultural earthquake. A panelist broke ranks, admitted Trump would win. I mean, the audience gasped because polls prove Republicans are leading on every single topic issue. Democrats are losing trust, they're bleeding voters, and they're fumbling even in their own strongholds like California. Meanwhile, Trump stands resilient, stronger than Obama in his second term, despite 9 months of nonstop attacks. That is why The View got destroyed, not because of one comment, but because reality finally bulldozed their fantasy. Now, here's a rally cry, folks. Don't buy the lies. Don't get demoralized and don't back down. The data is on our side. The people are on our side, and history is moving in our direction. The View showed the panic. We need to show the resolve. Stay strong because this fight is far from over.